Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yakim Akwath out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And I was just kind of doing a little deep dive on here. I was trying to figure out the word for a concept. Of course, it's out there. And you hear this word go out a lot. And there's a couple different terms for it, and we're going to go into getting that. I might put this one up on my backup channel just for the sake of, the content that's in it, as you'll see. I'm still going to try to choose my words carefully, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But those that, have been around, you'll hear a concept, all right? And the concept, and I'm not going to say the first part here, but there's a conspiracy about the 1948ers. Okay, I'm not going to actually refer to the word that you actually see on screen here. 1948ers, all right, the tiny tops, all right, however you want to call them, about how it's not a theory either. It is just a conspiracy. It's a legitimate thing about how they have a concept where they must tell you that they're going to do something before they do something. Okay, now this is in the Bible as well, under a different name. As boasting of their heart's desire is really what it is. But there's a they say it's a spiritual ideology, but it's not really spiritual. I mean, spiritually wicked, sure, but it's more of a, they say it has a lot of stuff to do with alchemy and a lot of different stuff. We're gonna get into it, but anyway, the conspiracy is that these tiny tops, the ones that are part of this quote unquote cabal, all right, the big league banking families. They have a thing where they must tell you what they're going to do before they do it. Now, the most prominent of these theories, all right, I'll just say theories, but, they're really conspiracies because this is a theory because why they exactly do it is, up in the air. There's many different reasons. We know it's for a sinister purpose. Really, the big thing is that they have to tell you because they're proud, and they know they can tell you, and you're going to be too dumb to get it, to understand, and it's really part of their pride. It's the scripture, the them being proud and boasting of their heart's desire. Because again, I mentioned it in the past, these people could go out and say that they're gonna blow up a building on Main Street at 3:45 p.m. There's gonna be purple hippopotamuses dancing in the street when it happens, and then here comes 3:45 and there's purple hippopotamuses and everything, the building blows up, and we say, hey, these guys said they were going to do it. And you individuals would say, oh, no, that's not what they meant at all. All right, when they said blow up a building, they meant fill it with a lot of people. They're going to blow up, it's going to be very popular. No, what about the purple, hippos then? Well, no, so that was probably people that were just going over there to make it look, they're stating, look, man, these people will tell you what they do before they do it, and you individuals are so stupid, all right, so blind, so blindsided too by your, what you're doing, which is really nothing at all. You're too worried about Cardi B's ass and, what movies are coming out, that type of shit, instead of actually, seeing the stuff that's actually going on in the background. And don't get me wrong, slightly keep up with what video games are coming out or some movies, but the thing is that I also see what's going on. All right, a lot of these individuals are so deep into just scrolling on their phone, and they don't ever have any good information comes up. It's just fucking slop that's just deteriorating these fucking people's brains. And that's really what the big league banking families want you as, right? That's where they want you. They got you right where they want you, all right? Just a mindless media consumption slave, all right? So continue to do that, all right? That'll help them out in the long run. But anyway, so I got this up in this one, and I originally got this, I'm in a private tab, in the incognito tab, because it will tie to your Google account if you look it up, and who knows what it'll do then, right? It could try to tie things in that you've asked, and I just wanted a blanket response, so I just typed in 1948er conspiracy, must say what they do before they do it. And it says the idea of a 1948er conspiracy to reveal their plans beforehand is a trope that's found in conspiracy theories and, anti-you-know-what narratives, sometimes linked to interpretations of the protocols. And I'm not going to name the whole, you can look on screen, I'm not going to name that whole book because even naming that, right, is going to trigger some guidelines, I'm sure. But it says it's a known forgery. It's not. It's something that just slipped out of their hands because Yahweh Shem Yahushai had it happen. All right, because everything that's hidden comes to light. All right, and we're not going to go too much into that today about everything being hidden coming to light, because I have a mini series going on about Esau's cannibalistic nature, where we're just about on the last maybe 2-3 lessons more maybe out of it. And the rest of the scriptures I have for that are pretty much entirely dealing with these individuals being revealed. So if you want some more of that, you can go to that. And that one's still in work. Lord willing, I'll get that out through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. But, that's ultimately what's going to happen to these individuals, that they're going to be revealed. And they've already been being revealed in part as well for years, all right? Things slip through the cracks that are not meant to, and that's all Yahweh Shem Yahushai revealing those things, all right, and revealing these devils. It's just as we get closer and closer to the end, more and more stuff is actually being revealed on them, and they're having a hard time, covering up their shit in the litter box, right? So continuing on, it went and did this. I asked, what exactly does the protocol say? It goes on and talks about it, and again, I was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about, because I have a copy of it, all right, in a PDF form. I don't actually have the physical copy of it, but, I've read through bits of it. I'm like, what exact part of it does it say that? I was trying to find the root cause of this. Now, it is good as it got, is down here. Now, let me scroll down. I asked... Here it is. Well, I basically asked to say, what exactly does the protocol say? What's the root of this actual conspiracy? That's what I wanted. Where did the root of it come from? I'm looking for the root media, right? And of course, it's the Bible, but for these, you hear it a lot within the even the so-called white community, all right, that aren't a particular fan of the 1948ers. You'll hear them say, "Oh, I've heard it say you down here, it calls it a karmic waiver, stuff like that. But I've heard insinuations like that, and I'm trying to get down to I was just pondering, so I started asking where that actually came from. All right, and so this is mostly just talking about what the protocols say, and that's true. The root of it, the protocol's roots, and I wasn't looking for the roots of the protocols. I was looking, and this is where we get into the juice right here. I said, no, I mean that they have to tell you their plans before they do it. And they said, here are the top web pages. I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for, all right? That's not what I'm looking for. I said, that's not what I asked. And it knew, because it instantly gave me what I was looking for. It knew. It tried to give me sources so they didn't have to say it, and I said, that's not what I asked. I asked, what did I ask specifically, brothers and sisters? I said, no, I mean they have to tell you their plans before they do it. Where did that come from? I didn't ask for you to give me a bunch of sources. I asked, you can quote the sources, but tell me what it says. That's not what I asked. That's what I said. That's not what I asked. So it gives me sources from 7 different sites. One looks to be Wikipedia. I don't know what the middle is, something with a G. And then, of course, Reddit is the other one, and whatever the other 4 sites are. So... it says the concept that a secretive group, all right, and that's what it really is, cabal, all right, it's really the elite, all right, you'll hear people refer to it as a cabal, the 13 Jewish families, oops, let that slip, but yeah, they call it a cabal, right, but anyway, the 1948ers, it says the concept that a secretive group must tell you their plans before they do it, that's referring to these elite, all right, an elite in 1948ers, mind you. It says is a common trope in modern conspiracy circles, often referred to as the revelation of the method. Now, this is where we start getting into it. I'm like, cool, now we're going somewhere. It says this idea is widely used to explain why massive top-secret organizations or operations are supposedly hidden in plain sight. Within conspiracy communities, the belief relies on 2 main explanations. So this is where, this is getting into with the things I've heard before, right? And this is what I was trying to pull out and get to the bottom of. So the karmic waiver, all right, or consent concept. It says, and I'm just going to cut through the bullshit. It says it's a pseudoscientific belief. No, it's a belief, all right, that these people have, that an evil entity can avoid negative cosmic karma. They can avoid getting negative things back on them, right, if they put their plans out into the world first. The theory argues that if the public does not actively stop the plan after it's revealed, the public has legally or spiritually consented to it. And I've heard about this, and roughly in part, right? They say, like, Well, if I told you that I was going to do it, so all the guilt's off their hands, right? All the blood's off their hands. They said, well, I told you I was going to do it. If I told you I was going to shoot you and I did it, I mean, that still doesn't free me from being, an evil individual that just killed you out of pure bloodlust. I mean, I still did. It doesn't matter if I told you about it. That's not going to hold up in a court of law, and that damn sure wouldn't hold up in biblical. I'm going to have sex with your wife. And then you went, well, I told him I was going to do it. Okay. Right? Honestly, in a situation where you said that, you probably I don't know if you'd necessarily be put to death. You might be just on that regard. All right? But you'd probably have, you would have some form of justice for even, threatening a man with that. Right? You probably would be put to death biblically for that. I can't say 100%, but saying, I'm going to screw your wife. Yeah, that you probably would be put to death. All right? More than likely for something like that. Because that's like a big no-no. All right? That's a big no-no. But and the second one is predictive programming. And of course, this one we all know about. It says this is the theory that, and it's not a theory. I mean, it's a concept. It's a truth. All right, this is the fact. All right, really, that powerful groups use media, movies, and pop culture to purposely warn or desensitize the public to future events. Believers argue this makes the actual event, easier for the public to accept when it eventually happens. Now, this is really the reason I wanted to make this lesson, is because I was pondering again the other day. I closed out of it. The other day, someone was talking about the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Okay, and for those that are uninformed, it's kind of a nerdy game. All right, at the end of the day, so I know a lot of Jake aren't into the nerdy stuff. I know a lot of Jake are into the nerdy stuff. I didn't realize that this one had such a, really a hidden meaning in it. All right. Now, one of my favorite games, of course, is Elder Scrolls Oblivion specifically. But Skyrim's great as well. That's one of my other favorite games. But I like the Fallout games as well. Now, all these games are published by a company called Bethesda. All right. Bethesda Game Softworks. Bethesda Softworks, they got a couple different derivatives of their. I know they got Bethesda Game Studios, Bethesda Softworks. They got a few different, what would they call them? Offices or corporations that they go by, right? That work on different games. But Fallout, right? And I believe I've heard other brothers talk about Fallout as well. I've talked about Fallout. And this is all part of that predictive programming, all right? And look, and they've been doing predictive programming since, television and radio has been around, man. I can't even think of all the instances of predictive programming. There's a lot of it in The Simpsons. All right, The Simpsons is really because that's just a bunch of witchcraft. Because those individuals, the creators are actually 1948ers, and those people, they're in the know. All right, it's not predictive. It's not like they need a prediction like, oh, this is going to come true. No, it's predicted because they know it's going to come true, right? They say it's they call it predictive programming. They predict what's going to happen before they happen, but it's not really. Predictive programming isn't really the best term for it. That's what they call it. That's what you're going to hear. But predicting something is, that's like a prophecy. All right, that's what the men of the Lord do. Okay, saying something's going to happen before it happens. When you say, when you purposely go and put some tacks on the ground and say, oh, someone's going to step on those tacks. Sure, that's a prediction, but, I mean, that's something that you directly did. You knew it. Of course you could predict it. You knew it was going to happen because you did it, right? I could predict that someone's going to be pushed down the stairs. If I pushed them down the stairs, of course it's going to happen, right? Of course I can predict that. So predicting is not really the best word for it. But anyway, you see this a lot, and the two instances that I'm going to use is the Elder Scrolls, all right, specifically Skyrim and Fallout, all right. Now, in Skyrim, okay, there is a civil war that is going on, all right. When you play the game, it's not just about the civil war. It is a big part of the game, but the main part is about this, world-eating dragon that shows up basically like the end days, all right, is basically what's happened. But a big part of it is the Civil War. And this is a civil war that's happening between two parties. All right, one part is called the Empire. All right, the Imperial Empire specifically. And the Imperial, I'll just explain a little bit about it. The Imperial Empire is basically, so there's this big landmass that's called Tamriel, right? And that's basically the world that you play in. There's other places outside of Tamriel, all right, because I think that's just one continent in a big world that the games are only ever set in Tamriel, right? But there's technically more to the map if you look into it. But anyway, and Cyrodiil, all right, is the main province of the Imperials. Okay, and this game is in Skyrim. That's why the name is Skyrim. All right, it takes place in Skyrim. And the Imperials, all right, have an empire. Okay, and the empire is generally ruled by one man. At the time of the I believe in the time of the game, the Empire, I'm not sure what the state of the Empire was. I don't think it was very good, because I remember in Oblivion, the previous game, the Empire had actually just been assassinated. All right. But in this one, I think they were without a hair at the time. I don't think they had an empire. Anyway, it's besides the point, right? Anyway, they're basically themed like Roman type theme, right? They wear those like Roman type garments and stuff like that. And their whole goal is the Imperial Empire is they, basically try to rule as much Tamriel as they possibly can, at least, Cyrodiil, Skyrim, and other places like that. Not so much Morrowind, which another game is set up, because that's, really governed by a different force. But really, they're just in a position of power, right? And they're the main driving force, right? Think of them as the United States government, okay? Most places are under them. There's other places that they try to have under their rule, but they're really not having it, right? There's provinces that the United States, say, it's the United States province, but they're not really down with the United States rule. And there's other places that aren't even part of the United States or under their rule that, the United States wants, i.e. Canada, Greenland, but they want no fucking part in the Americanization, all right, of their countries. So think of the empire, all right, in this talk that we're having right now as, the United States government, okay? And there's another party in the game, all right, and they're called the Stormcloaks, okay? Now, the Stormcloaks in the game are portrayed as, really, these people are more Nordic, all right? Skyrim is a Nordic land, okay? And the Stormcloaks are essentially they're the group of the people, essentially. They're the Nord individuals, and they don't want they've had their customs for thousands and thousands of years, all right? Their Nordic customs, the god they worship, all right, which is called Talos, right? Which I believe is actually based on a real Nordic false god. But they have this god named Talos, right? And he was a mortal man, all right, that I can't remember exactly what he did. He stomped out some, the elves, the ancient elves? I can't remember. There's a lot of lore, right? There's a lot of information about the story. But anyway, he was a mortal man that basically drived out an evil that was, trying to conquer and take over the land, right? So they reverence this person as essentially like a man that had transcended into godhood, okay? So he was a mortal man that died and achieved, basically godhood, all right? So really, that's like if you really want to get down to it, it was like a reference to Yahushua, all right? A man who walked on the earth, all right, did a very noble cause, all right, died and didn't just die, but, came back to life as a spiritual power, all right, essentially, all right? There's more to that, of course, with Yahushua, but, trying to roughly equivalate here, right? That's what they're doing anyway. It's a rough equivalation. And mind you, if you really want to get down to it, the person that worked on Morrowind, which was 2 games before Skyrim, was actually big into theology. All right, he was big into theology, and I believe he went to some form of seminary school. Don't quote me on that, but he was really big into theology and taking psychedelics. So a combination of some crazy shit. But he was really big into theology, and he made a lot of lore for the Elder Scrolls, all right? So this guy probably, knew a little bit of something, not as far as, the truth goes, but, about the Bible and concepts. And again, we mentioned that a lot, that all these different things, there's not really anything original. It's all ripped off from the Bible, right? Even other religions are rip-offs of the Bible, right? Islam, all of it just rips off of the Bible, and they added some stuff, right? A lot of these quotes you see are actually just biblical quotes that people are just, roughly quoting. But anyway, so the Stormcloaks, they're like the more Nordic individuals, and they do not like the Empire being in their land. They do not like their land is essentially being colonized, and they don't like it, and they don't want any part with it. They want to worship their god, Talos. The Empire is saying that they can't worship it for a reason that we'll get into in just a moment. And, you know, these individuals are not evil individuals. Some people try to say they're racist or whatever because they say Skyrim is the land of the Nords. And, well, Skyrim is the land of the Nords. It's the land where they're from, right? That's their land, and the Imperials came and they try to take it over, okay? And it's not the Imperials' land. Imperials' land is Cyrodiil, but they try to come over to Skyrim and say, oh, well, this is our land now, and they, you know, try to set up their rule, just like the fucking United States government tries to do. They go to another land, they say, well, this is our land, we've always been here. No, you're gonna become, you know, the economic hitman. There's actually a little video on it, economic hitman. If you don't, you know, let them build in your backyard, then guess what? You get assassinated. All right, that's what ends up happening to you. And then they take your shit anyway. So you're going to let them take your shit, or they're going to kill you and take your shit. So you either let them take your shit and stay alive, or they're going to take your shit anyway and you're going to be dead. So great choices, right? So that's essentially what's happening in here. They're trying to basically fucking colonize the goddamn place. And they're not having it. And they're saying, oh, they're racist and whatever. Mind you, in Elder Scrolls, every land is fucking racist. I mean, the orcs don't like anybody else. Nobody else likes the orc. You got the dark elves. Nobody likes them, hardly. Dark elves don't even like dark elves. I mean, you got the wood elves, and people don't like them. Because there's so much shit going on, but they're really just pinning it on this Nordic people. Oh, you guys are bad because you don't want, you know, this rule coming in, and, you know, you want to keep people out. Well, no, they're not really, because you can join as any race. All right, you can actually join the Stormcloaks or the Imperials as any race. So if they are really that racist, I mean, there are a couple bad actors in the game, of course, that are racist, and they're going to be like that. But, you know, in a whole, no, they just want their land as their land. You can dwell there, you can live there, but you shouldn't be, you know, making their rules, which is, you know, fine. I mean, you can't be an American citizen or a Mexican citizen or whatever and go over to Australia and start trying to set up rules. I mean, that's not for you to do, right? That's how it goes. But that's Esau's concept. They go to, you know, people's land, and they have to control everywhere, right? They have to have, you know, their hand in everything. Not because, you know, in a right state, because again, biblically, you know, everybody had their different lands, and that was for a reason. Now in the kingdom, it is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be ruling over all the lands. They're going to have their own land, but we're going to be moderating them essentially. But not like Esau is with their. Esau does it for a different reason. They don't do it to make sure everything's in order. We're going to be ruling over them, one, because we're going to be in power, and two, to make sure they're acting accordingly as they should. Esau doesn't do it to make sure people aren't, you know, living sinful lives. They do it because they just want power and greed, and they want to be like Yahweh. They want to be, you know, a godlike figure. That's what they want to be. But getting back to it, the Empire is not really acting on their own. Okay, they're actually controlled by a secret society called the Thalmor. And the Thalmor is really the ones that are making all the big decisions. All right, they tell the Imperials what they can and can't do. They don't do something bad happens. You can think of these individuals as the 1948ers, right? So look at the Imperials as the American government. The Thalmor is the 1948ers, all right, Israel. And then you can look at the Stormcloaks as whatever nation happens to be, you know, being colonized at the time, right? America at one point, right? Basically, with the Native Americans. And so, yeah, they have this, that you can't find these in the Thalmor, all right? And they're specifically one race. You know, the Imperials are, for the most part, one race, all right? But they're all one race. But the Thalmor is one race of people. They think they are the most supreme of all people, all right? They think they are the most high up. They think everybody else is below them. They think they are chosen, okay? Starting to sound real familiar, huh? And they believe that they should have the control over everything. And at the end of the day, if the Imperials don't do it, bad shit starts to happen. Now, they do not like the idea, all right, of one man being, one man who walked on earth, all right, as a man, being a god, okay? So they completely outlaw the worship of Talos, okay? And so the Empire has to enforce that, all right? So because the Thalmor don't like it. And again, the Empire doesn't act on their own currently in Skyrim, all right? In the other games, they weren't set up, but in Skyrim, it really shows you that this current age of Imperials are really, lackeys for a hidden cabal of individuals. And it is, because at one point you actually, in the game, if there's this quest where you can actually infiltrate their fucking cabal. You can infiltrate and look at this paperwork and look at all this shit. And a matter of fact, a guy that was bringing all this information out, because I never really thought about this, because I played the game over and over and over again, but I never put two and two together. And he mentioned in this video that he didn't put two and two together until he was playing it. And when he said that, I was like, oh shit, I never really put those things together. But now that he mentioned that, I said, oh shit, that, once you really start putting two and two together, yeah, that is what it's strikingly similar, hauntingly familiar, right? And you can go and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And I never played as the Imperials all the way to the end. I still need to do it because I fucking hate them, man. I fucking hate them. I always play as a Stormcloak. And I just hate the Imperials. I just always hated them. Especially because at the beginning of the game, they're trying to fucking chop your head off. So why am I going to join these individuals that, first of all, wrongfully imprisoned me? And they say, oh, well, you were caught up with these individuals, so, you got to go to the chopping block too. For fucking what? Right? Because I happened to be near someone that was doing something wrong? I wasn't doing anything wrong. What the fuck? You're going to chop my head off? I can't, I'm not going to be down with a government like that. Right? And that's also indicative of Esau's government. They'll take people that weren't even guilty of the crime they're saying that they committed, and they'll fucking put them to death. They'll put them into prison for 50 years, right? But, so there's that, right? And at the end of that, the quest line, I guess, if you join the Imperials, now I didn't know about this, but I guess it's revealed to you that the Empire has almost no control at all. All right, but you don't know that throughout the game. You know that they're influenced by the Thalmor to some extent, but you don't know how deep it runs until you join their side, and it's basically revealed to you, like, oh yeah, we basically don't control anything. It's pretty much all these, it's pretty much all the Thalmor, and that's how it is with the American government. They're controlled completely by the 1948ers, and a lot of people don't see it. All right, a lot of people refuse to see it, but that's the truth, and there's still a lot of people, despite this fact, that are going to support, all right, the American government, right? Now, on the other hand, you have Fallout, all right? Another game created by Bethesda, right? And this one is way more revealing than Elder Scrolls in any way, and I've talked about it time and time again, all right? And there's so many, you have the vaults, all right? The vaults, the places where people go because they want shelter from the nuclear war. Well, guess what? The whole situation was that, allegedly, that the people that made the vaults were the people that made sure that the bombs got dropped in the first place, right? Now, that's already bad enough, all right? Now, on top of that, and that's the case, the people that are building these bunkers so these rich people can go to, who do you think are the same people that are going to, instigate nuclear war? The same people that are fucking wanting these bunkers built, right? Same shit, real-world application. Now, the 1948ers and the president and the people that are really, the higher up, the elites and lesser luminaries, they're really part of a group in Fallout called the Enclave, all right? And the Enclave believe that they're the purest of people, the smartest individuals, all right? The elite, the ones that can actually know how to bring society back from a fucking collapse, and they hide themselves, in secrecy. Before the war, all right, they had these, secret little areas where they were experimenting with, all sorts of shit, viruses, all sorts of shit that they really no one has any business fucking with, but they were doing it. And anyway, they hid themselves in bunkers anyway, and they think themselves to be elite over the people of the wasteland. Now, they have all these different things about, they've never touched wasteland air. They've never been in the exposed to radiation, so they're pure bloods. They're the purest of pure, and they're the only ones that have a rightful ownership to America, so they should have control. And then you have them, and then you have all these other individuals, but and then you have the whole situation with the war about how pretty much the whole world was destroyed in 2 hours. Well, we know Babylon's going to be destroyed in 1 hour. See, they know things. And that's all I have to ramble about that. Slovakia, long-winded, but I wanted to bring you brothers and sisters up to par with it. I know I've talked about it, but things like that, man. Do you think that's just what a series of fucking right on the nail coincidences? No, man. No, right? No, and I believe Todd Howard, the main director of these people, is a 1948er. Let me go and look it up. Yes, right? Yes, based on the biographical information. It says there's no information about it. Let's see. He was married. Let's see. There's no evidence that he is. They said there's no evidence that he is. He more than likely is. All right, he more than likely is at the end of the day. Down the line, maybe, even if it's through his mother's side, and he's not technically an Amalekite himself. There's ties. There's no way you're just going to keep on having. That's what, or either way, all right, these 1948er individuals will force you to put things in there. All right, they'll force you to put things in there. And if you don't think that's the case, they absolutely do. When you sell out to these individuals, you have to do things they want to. If they say, hey, you have to put this in there, guess what? You're going to put that in there, or you're going to, end up with pneumonia and die. All right, or you're going to end up in a car that suddenly starts speeding out of control and die, or you're going to have a little bit too much to drink and fall off your balcony and die, right? Or you're going to be in some horrible plane accident, all right, and die. All right, those are the things that end up happening to you if you don't follow their little thing. All right, again, that's part of their predictive programming. So back to it. It's plain enough. And again, if brothers want to chime in down below and link things that they've seen that were predictive programming, you can put them down below. And there's so many different things. All right, there's so many different things. Simpsons has about 1 billion. All right, pretty much that whole show is just a predictive programming cartoon, right? So anyway, predictive programming. This is a theory that powerful groups use media, movies, and pop culture to purposely warn or desensitize. It's not warning, because you could say it's warn if it's the whole karmic waiver thing, but really it's desensitization is the primary thing for the predictive programming. All right, to desensitize the public from future events. Believers argue this makes the actual event easier for the public to accept when it actually happens. It's true. That's why you keep on hearing the word microchip over and over and over again. All right, they've slowed down on a little bit, but there was that fucking weird-ass commercial with the Cheerios. I'm talking about, I invented the microchip. That wasn't even a funny commercial. What is the purpose of that? Or the commercial where it talked about the Glade. It says a new or Febreze. The Febreze, it operates off a microchip, and it wasn't even a microchip that's controlling it. All right, it wasn't even a microchip. All right, they showed it, said this is the microchip, and it wasn't a microchip at all. Right. So it wasn't at all. It's something that simple, doesn't need a microchip, right? But they were throwing that buzzword around, microchip, 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 microchip. So when you start hearing things about in video games like Cyberpunk, all right, getting chromed out, microchips, chipping, getting chromed, all right, getting implants, all right, all these. Why do you think these words are going? These are buzzwords, man, and they throw them around for desensitization, as it mentioned. And they do that so you hear this word over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, to where when it finally comes out, you're like, oh, there's that microchip, right? And it's not something that's like, scary anymore, because you've heard it so much. You're like, oh yeah, I've heard about those microchips. I've heard about those things, right? So that's what they do. What else? What's the actual origin of this idea? Let's see. Did I ask anything else? I said the karmic waiver is the one I was thinking of. It says the concept of the karmic waiver, often referred to in conspiracy circles as the revelation of the method, is a psychological framework that's used by theorists to explain why top-secret plots are supposedly hidden in plain sight. No, it's not supposedly. They are hidden in plain sight. All right? And they're not even really that hidden. All right? I mean, you have to go back to what Bill Gates said when he talked about, how to get talked about how we're overpopulated, quote-unquote, as a society. And, one of the goals to get those numbers down was to do what? To do a really good job with what? Well, can't mention it, but I can say it's the Capri Sun, right? So put 2 and 2 together, man, you get 4. So it says it relies on the belief that exposing plans beforehand absolves the perpetrators of spiritual or cosmic consequences. Now, if this is something that these individuals actually believe, who knows? There's a lot of things that these small hats believe in that are completely crazy. I don't know if this is necessarily one of them. But I do know through the scripture, this is the scriptures give it all away. It's their pride, right? Their pride, make them boast their heart's desire. So yeah, man, the premises of implied consent. So we'll get back to this, but let me go and get a scripture So we got a bunch of stuff here. Let me get the first scripture right here that I have planned. It's Psalms 10 and 2 down through 7. And it says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Okay, so in his pride, all right, because he is a proud man. Esau is a proud man. We know that. All right, the scriptures say that he is a proud man who enlargeth his desire as hell. He is a proud man. Let's go and get that. We know this scripture. Almost everybody knows this scripture, right? Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also, let me not go to that one. Trying to stay off that website because they were recently hacked anyway. Habakkuk 2 and 5, it says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Again, this man could have everything in the world and not be satisfied, right? It says, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. All right, again, that's the type of, bastard this guy is. He's a proud man. He wants everything, and there's nothing, he thinks that can stop him. All right, he's a proud man. So going back to it, in Psalms 10 and 2, the wicked, all right, in Esau, Edom, all right, is called the wicked, all right. You shall call them the border of wickedness, all right. That's them being defined as the wicked. That is them. Now, sometimes you'll hear, the wicked being referred to as the wicked of Israel, or, you're just wicked. But when it says the wicked, when it's talking about the wicked, like in this context, it's referring to Esau, Edom, the wicked, all right, the border of wickedness, all right, Esau, Edom, all right, the so-called white man. And mind you said, well, I thought we were talking about the 1948ers. Well, they are still Idumeans or Edomites in a way. They're just, slightly different, all right? Mind you, they are Esau's grandchildren, okay? So they're still, through his bloodline, Esau, all right? It's just like Manasseh and Ephraim, and Issachar and Gad, they're northern kingdom, all right? They're, they have different names, but they're still of Jacob. They're still Israelites, all right? But they're, Israelites have different names. So Edomites have different names in the same extent. You have Edom, Amalek, Gog, Gomer, right? And so on and so forth, all right? Gog being Russians, Gomer being Germans, Amalek being the 1948ers, Esau being the so-called regular, just plain old white man, right? So they have their tribes as well, right? So-called. So it says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. So all the, wicked things that they have planned for us, let them be taken by him, right? And here's the big part. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. So for the wicked boasteth of his heart desire. So what is boasting? We can go and look that up. What is boasting? What is boasting? What is boasting? Speaking of excessive pride, vanity, or about one's own achievements, possessions, or abilities. All right, so they boasteth, of their heart's desire. Now, what is their heart desire? Nothing good. All right, they brag about their heart's desire. So that's what this really goes back to. They brag about what they're going to do before they do it. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire. So they're going to talk, we're going to take over the world. Or you'll see them on the TV, how do we do it? Actually, I eat babies, and the kid got over, so how old are you? 9? Only to 10, right? And that was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but they're not joking, right? They're not joking. All right, you hear all these weird context about pizza and and that's them boasting. They're laughing in your face. They're playing in your face. All right, that's what they're doing. So again, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. The poor is really, Israel, if you really want to get down to it. It says, let them be taken in the devices that they imagined. They have imagined. The wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after Yahweh. Yahweh is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for his enemies, he puffeth at them. Puffing at someone is, blowing air, like, pff, psh, what are you going to do? And that's what they do, all right? They'll say, we're going to blow down Main Street. And they'll go, psh, what are they going to do? We're going to do it, and they're still not going to think we do it. These dumbasses, all right? And they'd be right, because the society, they have bred a society of perfect retards, all right? Perfect morons, all right? The complete complacent society. These individuals, you can have, literally years ago, Biden said, if they continue to do this, there will be no more Nord Stream pipeline. He said it, and they still don't know who is guilty of I think they just said it was Russia. But they said it right in front of your eyes that there would be no Nord Stream pipeline if it continued to happen. And it continued to happen, and there was no Nord Stream pipeline. Who do you think fucking did it? But nobody put two and two together like, oh, the goddamn Russians, they're coming over here and they're blowing shit up. They're blowing things up that we all use. Come on, man. All right, here, let me go and prove it. Biden. Biden. Here, look. Listen.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine.
And they did.
Again, then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
Meanwhile, German journalist, that is a mystery. This aged well. This was, 3 years ago now. All right. If somebody's willing to save this clip on an external card before they erase it, our future generation deserve this information. And after he did it, he said it was Putin. Putin replied the next day, why would I do it? Oh, he said, why would I do it? I can just turn off the valve. All right. And I remember that. He said we could just turn off the valve. It says there's no question who sabotaged those pipelines. No, we don't know who did it, right? We don't know who did it. Like German journalist said, we don't know who did it, right? No one knows who did it, right? And that's the thing. They can tell you that right in front of your face, and you'll never fucking get it. You want to know why? Because you're a bunch of retards, okay? Not you, brothers and sisters, but I'm talking to you, American individuals out there in the world. You don't know anything. Right? You don't know a goddamn thing. These people could tell you anything. They could tell tomorrow I'm going to break into your house, I'm going to kill your dog, and I'm going to take all your Cheerios. And tomorrow someone breaks in your house, kills your dog, and takes all your Cheerios, and you're like, I wonder who it could be. Well, they said it was all, the government would never. The government would never. Or you have these individuals in 2026 that are still, what purpose would the government have to harm its own citizens? Okay. What reason would it have not to? Relying off of what? Good behavior? Oh, we would never. We're just good people. Well, good people would never. Look, if good people are few and far in between, all right? There's only, 1/3 out of a specific nation, all right, Israel, that are even good people, all right? That's it. Everybody else is not good people. So, anyway, the premise of implied consent. And these theories, proponents argue that the world elites operate under a strict universal law. I won't say spiritual law, but law, because these individuals aren't spiritual at all. It says a law regarding, they are demonic, so I could say a demonic law. Who knows? These individuals, really worshiping Baal and Molech and all that stuff. And we're almost to the end of the Feast of the Beast. All right, we've seen a lot of crazy shit going out. But anyway, it says universal spiritual law regarding free will. They believe that simply performing, and actually, I think it's already, today's the 1st, isn't it? Yeah, so it ended, all right, because it's midnight right now. It's already ended. We're already out of it. So, I don't know if they're going to continue throughout the day, but I don't know when they cut it off. But anyway, it goes till May 1st, I believe. It says strict universal demonic law regarding free will. They believe that simply performing an evil act would incur massive negative karma. To bypass this, these groups must put their plans out in the world via movies, media, speeches, or symbols. If the public is shown the plan and nobody actively rises up to stop it, they argue that the public has given implied consent. Like, oh yeah, go ahead and do it to us then. Consequently, the perpetrators believe the negative karmic debt or spiritual liability is shifted from themselves onto the victims who allowed it to happen. This is the one that I've heard. And again, if it's exactly what they think, however it goes, really, it goes back to the wicked boasting of their heart's desire, right? It's biblical. And they just have to tell you what they do before they do it because they have to boast. These individuals are proud. They have to boast. They have to tell you what they're going to do because they're too proud. Oh, we're going to blow it up, right? And then they know that they have the power. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stop. Say you knew that was going to happen. What are you going to do to stop it? All right, say tomorrow that they said they were going to blow up Disney. What could you do? What could you do to stop that from happening? Tell everybody, oh my gosh, they're going to do it? Well, if they have missiles, how are you going to stop a missile? How are you going to do it? You wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't have anything to do. So that's why they're proud at the end of the day. What are you going to fucking do about it? You can't do anything about it. Even if we told you a missile, what are you going to do? Use a missile? You don't have missiles. We do, right? We do. You don't. What are you going to do? Come and stop us? You don't know where we live. All right, and if you didn't know where you live, we have guards, we have security guards, we have bodyguards, we have secret tunnels. All right, we have all these. What are you going to do? You can't find us, right? And especially the 1948ers, they're living in places where people really don't even know how to get to them, all right? Some of them, all right? So it says connection to predictive programming. The idea is heavily linked that the theory of predictive programming is when an event happens in the real world, mirrors something from a movie, book, or card game years prior. They say card game because really, see, they know what they're talking about. The card game is mentioning the what was that? What was that called? Was this called New World Order? What was that game? I spelt that all wrong, but Steve Jackson game. That was the one. What was it called? No. It was by Steve Jackson, but it wasn't 2018. Illuminati. Right? It's a card game inspired by the 1975 book, all right? And there's a lot in those cards. Let's see. For example, Illuminati card game. It released in 1982. All right, and a lot of these things end up coming true. Here's some of the cards. Trying to find the ones that are big. I wonder what the Las Vegas one was. Oh, there was one. The Pentagon being attacked. You know, there's that one. That one's pretty big. That one happened. Here's one with Trump. All right. Charismatic leader. All right. This card may be played at any time and counts as an action for the group it affects. The increased power takes effect immediately. The power for one fanatic group is increased to 6. So, again, a fanatic group with a charismatic leader. So there's Trump. Sniper, that's talking about those assassinations. All right, Kirk comes to mind. What's another one? They say these are all the Donald Trump ones. Sniper, power to the people, Teflon coating. Enough is enough. Kind of looks like him. Near miss. The second bullet. All these different things. But there's more. There's one about the towers. All right. Let me see. There's a lot. There's one about famine. Let's see. Here it is. Wait, no. Let's see. Epidemic. There's one. Right? A planned, thing. Can't say too much, but there it is. Look, there it is. They call it a terrorist nuke. But look at that. Look at it. That's predictive programming right there. All right? Now, I wonder... Steve Jackson. He's an American card game designer. Oh, shit. He made GURPS? Oh, I didn't even know that. GURPS was the original system that Fallout was based upon. They ended up changing it a little bit. I didn't know that. And I wonder... Huh. Oh, he made Tunnels and Trolls? Shit. Well, no, it doesn't say that he did. Wait, let me read it again. Jackson became interested in Dungeons and Dragons. Huh. You know me, I'm into Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. Said, based on a design by Ken St. Andre, connected to his Tunnels and Trolls. Was that Ken St. Andre? Yeah, okay, he was Ken St. That was the one. Okay, interesting. Jackson got his first design for a company published as Ogre. Ogre, is this a TTRPG? It's a board war game. Interesting indeed. Anyway, that's besides the point. What is this called? His game Raid on Iran. Interesting. Raid on Iran. Board game. 1990 Secret Service incident. Huh. United States Secret Service raided the office of Steve Jackson Games on March 1st, 1990, based on a suspicion of illegal hacker activity by the game designer Lloyd Blankenship, and seized, among other materials, his manuscript for GURPS Cyberpunk. Interesting. Okay, Cyberpunk is, again, a dystopian future. You have Cyberpunk 2027, which is a game that's set in a dystopian world, the cyberpunk world. There's many Blade Runner Cyberpunk, RoboCop Cyberpunk, Judge Dredd is Cyberpunk, Johnny Mnemonic, that talks about the jacking and the chipping, that whole shit, that's Cyberpunk. A lot of different Cyberpunk things. Interesting. So it said when Jackson went to the Secret Service headquarters the next day to ask him to return his book, they told him they believed that GURPS Cyberpunk was a handbook for computer crime. Filed a lawsuit against the government. And he won the lawsuit. $50,000 in damages. Wow. Is he a 48er, though? British. Oh, there's a Steve Jackson that, funny enough, he founder of Games Workshop and Fighting Fantasy. That's crazy. I mean, Steve Jackson, I guess, is a common word, but Fighting Fantasy was like the old choose your own adventure books, but with more of a role playing, like you'd use dice and stuff. And then Games Workshop went on to create like another TTRPG, like Dungeons and Dragons, but they made Warhammer. And then Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games, he made GURPS, which is another role playing. That's crazy. Anyway, but Steve Jackson Games, the one from Steve Jackson Games. Then you find out more. Is he a 48er? Let's see. What nationality is he? They don't give you any information on him. American. On what ethnicity? Just white. Who knows? Anyway, back to it. Psychological and logical reality. No, we're not going to touch on your version of reality. But it says, the idea that a secret ruling group must reveal its plans beforehand was developed in the 1970s and 1980s by a French researcher named James Shelby Downard, and later popularized by the author Michael Hoffman. Downard coined the exact phrase revelation of the method to describe the supposed process. So let's read into this a little bit. It says, James Shelby Downard and King Kill 33. All right, 33 is a Masonic number. It says in the 1970s, the American fringe writer James Downard began drafting essays that viewed major historical events not as political occurrences, but giant open-air alchemical rituals. Absolutely. His most famous theory centered on the assassination of Kennedy. Downard claimed the assassination was a massive ritualistic Masonic psychodrama coordinated by a secret elite, and he'd be absolutely correct. What is a psychodrama? Let's look that up. What is a psychodrama? Psychodrama. They use role play, dramatization, and group dynamics to act out, explore, and resolve personal issues, traumas, or inner conflicts. What is a psychodrama? Spontaneous dramatization, all right, essentially is what it is. And it's true, all right. It was just a ritualistic Masonic psychodrama. That's all it was. All right, and it was an inside, work. It says the explanation of why these secret societies leave so many obvious clues, such as the 33-degree parallel where the shooting took place, or names of the streets. It's true. It's all linked, man. There's always something that's linked. All right. It says where the shooting took place, the names of the street. You'll see. 33rd Street. Many times, when you see these big mass events, I'll just refrain from saying certain words. When you see these mass events or any of these events come to take place, listen to what time it happened. Oh, well, it happened at 3:33 in the morning. What the fuck? 3:33 in the morning, right? Or be like, oh, it happened at 6:33. Okay, so we have 6 and then 3. Come on now, all right. Or a lot of the time, you'll have these 13 is also another number that these Masons like to use. All right, so like there was 10 individuals that were shot and 3 were killed. It's like, okay, so 13 people involved total. It was just off of 3rd Street. It happened at 6. It happened at 6 o'clock. There was, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? Nobody's seeing this, right? That's all that Masonic. That's that Masonic symbolism, all right. And these individuals in the 70s, they were seeing it, all right? People like Downard here. I'll have to look into his works a little bit more. But it says where the shooting took place, names of streets. That's true. For example, looking in the streets, not only can it reveal Masonic stuff, it can actually reveal things in general. Like, for example, what was the street that Jeffrey Dahmer lived on? All right, Dahmer, by the way, I believe is it in Hebrew? That means blood, right? I think it's Dama, but yeah, Dahmer. It basically means blood. But what street did Jeffrey Dahmer live on? Oxford Apartments. Let's see. I don't know if it was the 213 apartment, if that was the whole thing, but there was something I can't remember. The apostles were talking about it a while ago, and I always, when I think of Jeffrey Dahmer, I always have the Apostle Bar's voice popping in my head with that woman, right? That woman that was on the news talking about that, saying, "I took a sandwich from him. I took a sandwich from him." And then he said, that lady was a dumb bitch. Apostles funny, man. Love those guys. All right. Love all the brothers and apostles, elders, that are teaching, preaching sincerity out there, right? So Michael Hoffman, it says secret societies and psychological warfare. In the late 80s and 1990s, an author named Michael Hoffman took Downard's highly obscure theories and published them for a wider audience in the book Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. I'm going to have to look into that. It says Hoffman argued that calculated disclosures are released intentionally by hiding ruling hierarchy, which he called the cryptocracy. Cryptocracy. So a cracy is like a embodiment of people, isn't it? Democracy, all right, or a rulership, right? Or is it a rulership? Come on. And, of course, crypto means hidden. All right. Cracy is like, I think, a form of government, actually. So cryptocracy would be a secretive government. Let's go to etymology. So, democracy. Yeah, rule of government. Okay, a word-forming element meaning rule of government. So cryptocracy, all right, or cryptocracy, it'd be, you'd think it would technically be pronounced cryptocracy, but that would be a secretive rule, a secretive ruler or a secretive government, all right, cryptocracy, okay. It's absolutely true. The cryptocracy. I might use that term in this lesson. All right, cryptocracy. All right. It says Hoffman's twist on the theory was that exposing the plan for the ultimate is the ultimate flex of power. He claimed that by showing the public exactly what they're doing and watching the public do nothing to stop it, the elites effectively reduced the population to a state of deep frozen apathy and psychological submission. Absolutely. Now this is the one I'm more down with. All right, this is the one I'm more on board with. I don't know about the karmic whatever the fuck. All right, because really they don't believe in they're not Hindu at the end of the day. It could be something like that, who knows? But this is the one. It comes from a state of flexing their power, that pride, like the Bible says, right? They boast of their heart's desire, right? And it talks about them being proud. So this guy's more on point. This Hoffman guy's more on point. So yeah, that's all we're going to get with that. I mean, there's only a little bit more going back to the karmic waiver, but you can go and look into it if you want to. But that's what we got from it. So I can close out of that, and we're just going to get a couple scriptures here and close out. So Psalms 10, we already got Psalms 10, but let me go and read up to 3 again, 2 and 3. We'll just, we read the other parts, but we'll get Psalms 10 and 2 through 3 again. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken, bless you, let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. So again, the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire. Matter of fact, let's go and get this, and let's get the Amp Bible. Let's get a couple. We'll just start with the Amp. Let's get the Amp Bible, see what it says. It's going to say, in pride and arrogance, the wicked hotly pursue and persecute the afflicted. Let them be caught in the plots which they have devised. The wicked boast and sing praises of his heart's desire, of their heart's desire, and the greedy man curses and spurns and even despises the Lord. It's all right. Contemporary English, CEV. It's gonna say, proud and brutal people hunt down the poor, but let them get caught by their own evil plans. The wicked brag about their deepest desires. Those greedy people hate and curse you, Lord, right? That's what it says. So, Common English Bible. So, it says, meanwhile, the wicked are proudly in hot pursuit of those who suffer. Let them be caught in the very same schemes they have thought up. The wicked brag about their body cravings and reject the Lord, cursing. Let's get Christian Standard Bible. And this is the biggest scripture for this lesson, really, because again, that's all this goes back to. All right, so Hoffman was more on point with it's a vulgar display of power. All right, was that the Pantera album? All right, vulgar display was that what it was? Vulgar. I think that was the same. Yeah, vulgar display power with the guy getting punched in the face. Yeah, vulgar display of power. All right, now if we go and look at meaning, all right, a vulgar display of power is a phrase that means an ostentatious, excessive, crude show of strength. Okay, famously used as the title for Pantera's 1992 iconic metal album, taken from the film The Exorcist. I didn't know that. Refers to showcasing immense power in a blunt and unapologetic way. Referring to the band's goal to create the heaviest record of all time. They didn't create the heaviest record of all time. I'm over here pondering, who created the heaviest record of all time? Probably Obituary. Probably Obituary's either Slowly We Rot or Cause of Death. That's probably the heaviest. I mean, as far if people try to say, oh, Cannibal Corpse is heavier, and like, again, these are all bands that most of you jakes aren't gonna know, right? This is, someone who's a speckled bird. I got, in tuned with some more music that mostly Edomites listen to. I'm gonna tell you, some of that music's fucking pretty good, but it's it's demonic in a way though too. So I try not to listen to it really like that. But it's heavy. All right, just the slow chugging bass, and heavy isn't always fast. Anyway, talking about music, but yeah, heavy isn't always fast. It's not about fast playing guitars that makes it heavy. It's the slower and slower drums. It's not ting, 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 ting that makes it faster. It's ting, 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 do, 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 ting, ting. That's what makes it heavy, right? You have something fast that's not necessarily heavy, all right? Anyway, so, That's your method in slam metal. All right, so that's your lesson in slam metal for the day. But obituaries, they consider death metal. And why are they death metal? Because they are demonic in a way, and they're not demonic in a way. I wouldn't say death metal is any more demonic than I know Jake hears and they say, that's just demonic. It is. I try not to listen to it. But I try not to listen to it for the same reason. I try not to watch a lot of horror movies. Because, death metal is essentially a auditorial version or an auditory version of a horror movie. All right? Stripped into pieces, ripped part from part, chased down with a knife, stripped, strangled, murdered, cut in the neck. It's like, oh, that's vulgar and brutal. But yeah, it's just a auditory form of a horror movie. That's all they're really doing. It's just try to be, shocking, right? But again, same reason I don't like horror. But I don't want to, watch some woman being screamed and stabbed 55 times. I'd rather watch something like a comedy, man, at the end of the day. I'm not saying you're wicked if you watch it. But, there's just negative energy on it. And look, man, the world's already fucked up enough. I want to watch something to take my mind off of, the shit that's happening. And I don't want to play no goddamn horror movie. Shit, if I want to watch a horror movie, I just read the news. I used to like horror movies, too, until I came to this truth. After I came to this truth, man, I don't really want to watch no horror movies. I like some. I like the sci-fi horror. Like, I'll watch Alien. I'll watch stuff like that. I'll watch, like, cosmic horror and, like, creepy stuff like that. But, like, I don't even like watching zombie. I'll watch a zombie movie, actually. I will watch a zombie movie. But, like, slashers, I don't really want to watch no slasher movies. Somebody chasing someone through the house and slashing them up. Not a fan. Plague movies, right? I'm good, right? I'm good. So, I already don't like being sick as it is. So if I hear someone cough in a store, half the time I just go down a different aisle. I'm like, oh shit, say a prayer real quick, go down a different aisle. Oh shit. So this is Psalms 10 and 2 and 7. Did we already get the Christian Standard? I don't remember. We can get it anyway. In arrogance, the wicked relentlessly pursue their victims. That's a good one. Let them be caught in the schemes they have devised. For the wicked ones, plural, boast about their own cravings. The ones who are greedy curse and despise the Lord. And they absolutely do. And then let's get it in the good news. Let's get in the good news. Bam. Let's see what it says here. The wicked are proud and persecute the poor. Catch them in the traps they have made. The wicked are proud and of their evil desires. The greedy curse and reject the Lord. I hated that one. I won't say I hated that one. I just, lost all of it. The other ones at least kept some of it. Let's get the NLT. This one's usually pretty good. See, the Good News Bible, it either goes heavy or goes, like a weak noodle, right? So that's why the King James Version, of course, reigns supreme. 2, the wicked arrogantly hunt down the poor. Let them be caught in the evil they plan for others. For they brag about their evil desires. They praise the greedy and curse the Lord. That's fantastic. That one's great. Love that one. So here's 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. This is one that most people should know, all right? And this is good for us, 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. Lest Satan should get advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, all right? Us that are in this truth, we're not ignorant of devices. All right, we know that he operates off this whole, reveal it before he does it situation. Regardless if it goes back to karmic retribution or karmic waivers or, whatever, right? At the end of the day, like I said, that Hoffman guy, I think his name was, or Hartman or whatever it was, he had it more down. It's really a vulgar display of power, as I'm going to use from the Pantera. It's a vulgar display of power. They're just putting out there, it's just a proud display of power. It's a hubris-filled display of power because they know, what are you going to do to stop them? You can't. All right, you're just gonna have apathy and so, I wish we could stop them. And all these other people, trying to, these. And I will say, Americans are dumb, but a lot of you people in these other countries are dumb too, because you're saying, you Americans, why don't you do anything? Okay, well, I don't consider myself an American, and all the people that are in the truth here, we don't consider ourselves American at all. We're Israelites, Hebrew Israelites. We happen to be dwelling in the land of America. All right, we have citizenship here in America. We were born here, most of us. Some of us weren't, but we have residency here, so we're citizens of the United States. We don't consider ourselves Americans, right? We're Israelites that just happen to be dwelling here. But you say, oh, what are you Americans doing, you citizens doing to stop Trump and his power? What would you expect us to do? March up there and say, hey, man, you bastard, you keep on doing all these bad things. You need to get out, or what? What we're all gonna march? No, man, you can't even fucking get people to 3 people to settle on where they want to go out for dinner. You think you're gonna get all the people to fucking stage a giant protest and get this man out the White House? At first, they're just gonna pull in, they're just gonna pull in helicopters, Black Hawk missiles with fucking machine guns and tanks and bombs, and then they're gonna fucking blow your ass up. You say, if you don't like what he's doing to America, well, just take him over, man. That ain't how it works. All right, that ain't how it works. Okay, at all. All right. If you didn't like Brexit, why didn't you just walk in and say, "Oh, mate, we don't like Brexit. Stop doing it. It upsets us very much." Why didn't you do that? You didn't do it. You didn't have control. Don't have control. Easier said than done, huh? Easier said than done. All right. And even if we could stop it, us in this truth, we wouldn't stop it because it's all part of the Lord's will. Right? It's not what our will is. Right? The harder Trump makes it to live here, the better. Right? That means the quicker the Babylon gets its fucking destruction. Boom. Blown up. All right? We can't wait. We want out this place. We ain't trying to have this place. We ain't trying to fix this place or heal this place. Or if anything, we're trying to make this wound fester more. All right? That's what we do when we teach. All right? Every time we teach, we essentially cause a new scab to form on Babylon the Great. All right, a festering wound, mind you, an unhealable wound. All right, we shatter a part of this government every time we teach. All right, and that was talked about by Elder Apostle Gabar just recently. Right. So Psalms 83:3, it says they have taken. Here's one that was used just. Some of these actually I pulled from my notes on a lesson he made just like a couple days ago, last week or a couple days ago. Psalms 83:83, or Psalm 83:83. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against the hidden ones, thy hidden ones. So the hidden ones, of course, are the elect. Crafty counsel, that's their counsel. And the crafty is really these elite, these 1948ers, the cabal, the 13 families, whatever you want to call them. All right, the Amalek. All right, the elites. That's who they are. All right, they're the crafty, and their counsel, all right, is of course the things that they get together and try to come up with different ideas of wickedness that they can put forth on the earth. All right, that's spoken in Psalm 64:2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. All right, and do I want to read this? I'll read some of it. It says, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Again, we've got this scripture time and time again. And those arrows that they shoot are those, wicked ideologies, all these, false flag events, all these different things, right? They go to shoot them out, right? It says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Really, their ultimate goal is try to, kill the elect. It's not going to be possible, but that's what they want to do. Or corrupt them. Kill or corrupt. Ultimately, they want to kill, but if they can't kill, corrupting is, the next best thing with these individuals. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter, false flag events, these different things where they're going to display their power, tell you what they're going to do before they do it. That's an evil matter, right? It says they commune of laying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? Again, laying a snare is the deceived and the deceiver are his, as we see in the scripture. So the Lord allows these individuals to set these snares to get these dumbass jakes caught up, right? It says they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So again, those that are in the know, in this case, the elect, all right, or the individuals that are in the truth for a time and being before the Lord takes away all that knowledge, all right, because that can happen. They're not necessarily the elect. The Lord can bring you and give you knowledge, all right. You'll know it, and you will know it, and you'll know what we're talking about, and hear these scriptures, and the Lord takes that right away from you at a point in time because you're not a part of the elect. But He did that so you could be destroyed 10 times worse. That can very much happen. So Lord willing, we're not those individuals, but the individuals that continue to keep on in this truth and are saved as members of the elect. Lord willing, Baruch Shah. So Job 5:12, I had something to say, but I forgot it. Job 5:12, it says, He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. There you go. And another one from the Apostle's recent live stream that he did. All right, and their enterprise really is in the New World Order. And again, he's going to disappoint that. They're not going to be able to pull it off in the way that they think they're going to pull it off. As soon as they get it set up, as soon as it's getting shut down, right? Grand opening, grand closing, right? Quoting Chris Rock, right? So they're going to have a grand opening for it and a grand closing right after. They're not going to be, the Lord's going to do the grand closing. They're not going to even have a grand closing for it, right? They're going to open it up and the Lord's going to shut it down just as soon as they opened it up. It's going to be hilarious, right? It's going to be like you pick up that steak on your fork and you're just about to put it in your mouth, and then someone takes that fork out of your mouth and throws your plate away. Right, you're done. All right, that's all you can have to eat. I didn't even get to eat. Well, wrap it up. All right, we're shut down for the day. Hey, man, but I didn't even get to do. Well, too bad. All right, new change of leadership. Right, and it's great. It's absolutely great. And the Lord's going to he's going to disappoint the devices of the crafty. And this all goes back to their New World Order, right? Showing you what they're going to do before they do it. And, they mention the chip over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. They put it in movies. They put all these different things. They did it with everything. Like, look at how many Mo's we got nowadays. And they secretly, well, not even secretly, they just started, added, if you go back, you had one episode that had a Mo in it. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. And they were overly accentuated, right? And they're like, oh, shit. Sometimes even made the laughing stock of those old shows in the 80s. Then, a couple years goes by, 1985. Now, the Mo is the clerk at one of the stores they go to. So every once in a while, whenever they go to the store, you see them in the background, or they might have a short interaction with this individual. Hey, how are you guys doing? So now it's a little bit in there more. Then, a couple years go around, in the late 80s, early 90s, now you have a Mo that lives at the apartment just over, right? So now they live just over, and they see them in the building. They're pretty much almost a regular character. They're not, a regular character, but they're a background character, one that comes along, like Norman. I think his name is Newman, like Newman and Seinfeld. Everybody knows Newman for the most part if they watched Seinfeld. He wasn't around all the time, but he was a prominent character. All right, he lived down the in the same apartment, just down the way. All right, and then a couple years go by. 92, 93. Now there's a Mo roommate. Right, so now they're part of the cast. Right, now they're part of the cast, but they just don't really mention too much. Oh, hey, I'm going out with Dave tonight. Oh, you're going out with Dave now. Interesting. Okay. All right. It's mostly around the women. All right. They might be a roommate with just the women characters or something like that, but they're pretty much a regular character now. A couple years go by. Now it's the early 2000s, to the mid 2000s, and now there's, now you see the Mo and their boyfriend on the screen, holding hands, hugging. Not really kissing yet, but just holding hands and hugging. Then a couple years go by, 08, 09, 2010. Now there's pecs. Now you get to see them kiss. Now there's now you have more alternative lifestyles. You might have a lesbian, a gay man with his boyfriend, and they're living under the house of individuals that are straight, and they're all just accepting and open. Oh, yeah, Larry and his boyfriend are coming over later. Oh, and Marissa and her girlfriend, too. Yeah, they're going to come over. Yeah, we're going to have a party tonight, right? And then, now in our modern age, fucking. All right, so many shows now that I see that will just show men fucking, right? Two men, right? Humping, right? They'll show it, just as they would a woman and man sex scene. All right, they'll show them kissing for extended appearance times, moaning on screen. So it was that gradualism, right? And that's all part of them again. That's that arrow that they were shooting. All right, and what they were shooting out? That was a sickness that they wanted to shoot out. That Mo, all right, and again to destabilize the society. Okay, these individuals. That's a great way to look what they've done. It's destabilized completely, right? But their ultimate goal, all right, to be in complete power and basically be God, Lord's gonna make them disappointed with their plans. Oh, we couldn't get that done. Nope. Straight into slavery, boy. All right, go and start and picking up these dead bodies and, get them gone away. All right, we don't want them here. That's going to be your first task. So, and dead bodies were after the destruction, man. After the destruction of Babylon. So, yeah, man, that gradualism, that cryptocracy. All right, I might just call this gradualism Cryptocracy. What was the other word? 1 minute. What was it? Just, come on, man. Give it the program, brain. It was, hiding shit in plain sight. What? Predictive programming. Okay. Gotta remember it. Come on, brain. Predictive programming, gradualism, and the cryptocracy. Alright? Or cryptocracy, gradualism, and predictive programming. I like that one. Let me look at gradualism. Let me see if that's gradualism. It's a Charles Darwin theory, but it's, it talking about, evolution. But no, gradualism is a theory that change occurs slowly and steadily over time. And that's what gradualism, all right, that's what gradualism is. Gradualism in society or socialism. Okay, so it still works for that. So, New World Order gradualism, predictive programming, and the cryptocracy. That's what this is going to be called. Call all Yahweh Meow Shai. That's what's going to be called, Lord willing. All right, New World Order gradualism. What did I say again? New World Order gradualism, predictive programming, and the cryptocracy. That's what it's going to be. So that's where we're going to close out. Lord willing was edifying. Now, I thought this was going to be a little short lesson, but there's a lot in this. So Lord willing, you get some edification from this. You can go and look into this more if you want. Like I said, I might look into that book. I might not, but it's there if you brothers and sisters want to go and see it. So that's where we're going to close out. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Till next one, Lord willing. Shalom.